Now, time to get to Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York. The governor who I wasn't so pleased when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorsed him for governor either. Got to keep it real, Alexandria. I mean, he wasn't exactly in danger of losing to a Republican, so I'm not particularly sure why she felt the need to endorse a extremely corrupt, oligarchic, plutocrat asshole. But that's not what this is about. So obviously there has been a lot of anger here in New York, as well as in Northern Virginia, and frankly, the rest of the country. It's not just progressives either. I mean, for God's sakes, Tucker Carlson, that jerk-off on Fox News, was like, why should New York and Virginia have to subsidize the richest man in the world to come open up headquarters in their cities that, if they didn't subsidize him, they'd still open it anyway? Like, why do we have to continue as a country taking money from us, the working people, and giving it to people like Jeff Bezos so he will grace us in these cities with his presence and Amazon's presence, which, you know, you hear all this talk, it's going to create 25,000 jobs and bring so much money to the economy and so much jobs and so much wealth. Yeah, for who? For who? There's already reports in New York that people are already being forced to and being displaced in the location where Amazon is now, that they're going to have to move so that Amazon could open up this headquarters. So who is benefiting? Is it the poor people that live in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district in the Bronx and Queens? Is it the single mothers working 2 jobs, 3 jobs? Because as far as I can see, they're not opening up like Amazon, and, you know, with it comes a government job program for people who badly need it. They're not doing that. So Andrew Cuomo, who gave 1.5, I believe it was almost either 1.5 or 2 billion with a B dollars in tax breaks to Jeff Bezos and Amazon to come to New York City. And if there's one city that doesn't need Amazon, it's New York City. Which, by the way, New York State has the highest level of income inequality in the United Corporations of America. New York State, largest income gap in the country. So, Andrew Cuomo, you know, in response to progressives, even frankly some conservatives, saying, why the fuck are taxpayers on the hook? Because it is taxpayers paying for it. It's not incentives. Who's paying for it? They're already hiking the prices on subway cards in New York City. They're already hiking the prices on bus tickets. And you start seeing little tax increases in your city tax or your state tax because the state government is losing the revenue that they're giving to Amazon. So this is a great article. I like Libby Watson. She writes for Splinter News. And she calls out Cuomo, who basically went after the socialists. It's the socialists that are mad about the Amazon deal. Andrew Cuomo is mad online after widespread criticism of New York's package of giveaways to bring Amazon's new headquarters to Queens, which will provide $2.8 billion in incentives, and I quote, to the giant corporation. The governor of New York had nothing better to do than to log on to Medium.com to defend the deal. It is so bad in so many ways. Let's dive in. Cuomo frames the opposition to the giveaway he helped engineer as coming from 2 camps, quote, extreme conservatives and the socialists. He doesn't actually cite any specific socialists, but we could assume he means people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. For extreme conservatives, he cites the New York Post, although he does not link to it. He spends paragraphs attacking their view that taxes should be lower for corporations across the board rather than just Amazon, which is indeed dumb. The Post has also attacked critics of the Amazon deal as hypocritical, which goes unmentioned. Last night, it broke the truly devastating story that Ocasio-Cortez has maintained an Amazon wish list. The hypocrisy. Quote, the socialists, meanwhile, are hopelessly naive, Cuomo wrote. On the other side of the extreme, the socialists argue that we gave a $1 billion grant to one of the richest men in the country and that we should have given that money to the poor and the needy. Once again, it is a politically appealing argument, but also it is once again wrong. We give Amazon nothing, and their revenue gives us approximately $900 million annually. If Amazon does not employ 25,000 New Yorkers, we lose $900 million. They also argue that we should let Amazon come to New York but provide no incentive. However, without the incentive, Amazon, which owes duties to its stockholders, including the New York pension plan, would not come to New York and would not bring their revenues or jobs. The essence of the Amazon competition was that they were shopping for the best economic benefits. Oh, that's what we call corporate welfare nowadays? Just economic benefits? Code. Economic benefits means corporate welfare. Amazon could have located all employees in Virginia or gone to Newark, just across the river, for a larger incentive. A $7 billion incentive package and a giant revenue loss to New York. Again, he doesn't link to a single source throughout, so I'm not sure who is arguing that New York should let Amazon move there without incentive. But it is obvious that Amazon was not, quote, shopping for the best economic benefits, given that other cities that did not win this embarrassing contest were offering much larger benefits. Columbus even offered to create a task force to deal with its, quote, unacceptable murder rate. Oh, that's nice that they would have a task force for their murder rate. So we'll try to stop the murders if you come, Amazon. As if only Amazon employees deserve to live without fear or murder. Amazon never intended to move to Columbus or Atlanta. They held this joke of a competition to encourage the cities they wanted to move to. New York and D.C. to offset the cost of moving there with the biggest tax incentive they could squeeze out of them. The idea that New York had to offer billions in incentives to attract Amazon away from New Jersey, which was offering more than twice the money to move an hour away, is absurd. But of course, Cuomo can't respond to the genuine left critique that cities should not offer incentives like this at all. In fact, he dismisses this as unrealistic. Oh, unrealistic. You know who used to talk about unrealistic things? Hillary Clinton. Well, that's not pragmatic, and that's not unrealistic. So the very people that are basically making public policy and making policy decisions bent over for their donors and are servants to their donors and are servants to people like Jeff Bezos and the corporate welfare state, their answer, it's a beautiful facade. It's a beautiful cover is, well, that's not realistic. That's not realistic, you progressives. And now extreme conservatives, I don't even know what that means. You know, you progressives, you want all these unrealistic things like education and healthcare and, roads that are paved and, clean water. Like, stop with these unrealistic demands already. Cuomo said, nothing in the Amazon transaction is new. The tax incentives we provided for single business transactions are usual and typical and have been operational for decades. They are long-standing programs supported by both Democrats and Republicans in both the city and the state. Nor are tax incentive programs unique to New York. Every state offers incentives to attract business, and we are in a constant competition with other states and nations to attract and keep good businesses. Oh, Andrew. Oh, Andrew. The fact that, so basically, Andrew Cuomo's argument is not that it's right or wrong, but this is just how business is done. This is just how business is done. The very states all around this country that say we don't have money for education, we don't have money for safety, we don't have money for food programs, we don't have money for, to get away from fracking and fossil fuels, we don't have money to pave the roads. We don't have money for the public good. They do have money to give incentives to corporations that come in. And these corporations that come in, they're not, public. They're not coming in on their chariots and gifting people, working people with jobs. They're not coming in on their chariots and fixing the schools. They're not coming in on their chariot and fixing the roads. You know what they're coming in on their chariots on doing? Let me know. Let me know. They're coming in on their chariots and forcing poor people out. Because when places like Amazon come in, you know what happens? The cost of living goes up in those communities. Because in many areas, low-income housing is torn down, and storefronts are torn down, and commercial businesses are torn down for a place like Amazon's headquarters. And around Amazon's headquarters, there's going to be new restaurants and new bars and new entertainment complexes and all this stuff that drives up the cost of living in those communities. It's called gentrification. So I'm not against Amazon coming to New York City. I'm not against Amazon. I'm not against Amazon going to Virginia. I think there's other communities that it made more sense for them to go. But I don't want to hear from New York State, the New York governor, that we just don't have the money to fix the subway, which at this point, if you live in New York City and you're driving around the subway, at certain points, it's a human rights violation what's going on with this subway. This is the biggest city in the world, and the public transportation is that of a third world country, because Andrew Cuomo wants to give tax breaks to Amazon to come.